Afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and here's my co-host, Geoffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
I've gone through the NFL schedule, and I've decided who's going to win each division, what the playoffs are going to look like, and who's going to win the Super Bowl. And without further ado, Geoffrey?
Yes, sir.
Let's get it started.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
Time to predict who wins the AFC West. For those of you who don't remember, that's the Raiders, Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs. So we're going to start off with fourth place, the Raiders. I just feel like the Raiders are going to be underwhelming this year. I'm not predicting a great season for the Raiders. The Raiders don't have an easy schedule, and that's not good for a mediocre at best team. I also don't see them beating the Chiefs, and they're going to have a tough time against the Chargers. So taking the division is definitely out of the question. Next, we have the Denver Broncos. Identity, run the football. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a solid quarterback, but I really don't think that they have anything that's going to put them over the top. Definitely not making the playoffs. Next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I actually really like the Chargers, and I think that there is a chance that they could fight for a playoff spot, but right now I have them just missing the playoffs, unfortunately. And that, of course, leaves number one as the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody knew where we were going with this one. The Chiefs are absolute beasts. After a Super Bowl loss, they're coming back with a vengeance. I definitely think that they're going to dominate this division, but they have way higher hopes than that. Trust me. Stay tuned. All right, and on that note, on to the next division.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
Up next, we have the AFC East. And for those of you who don't know, that's the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Bills. Starting at the fourth spot, I have the Jets. I think that they're going to do a good job rebuilding, but this is not their year. They have a rookie quarterback, a brand new head coach, and they're clearly rebuilding their team. I think that they're going to be better in the future years, but this is definitely going to be a learning process. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins. I have the Miami Dolphins having a pretty solid season, but just missing the playoffs. I think that their defense is solid, and I think Tua takes a step forward. Problem is, I just don't see them winning this division over the Bills and the Patriots. Next, we have the Patriots. The Patriots are going to also just barely miss the playoffs. Mac Jones, their quarterback, I think it's another rookie type situation. It's going to be some growing pains, but I do think that they're going to be competitive. On the defensive side, they're not going to have Stephon Gilmore for a while, which really is going to hurt their defense. I still think their defense is solid, but they definitely get a drop down losing one of their best cornerbacks. And that leaves the Buffalo Bills as the winners of the division. 5 years ago, who would have thought we'd be saying this? But they're the clear favorites to win this division. They kind of broke out last year. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen look great together, and I definitely think that they're going to have a great season, and they have high hopes. All right, I think that's going to do it for this division. On to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, I go over who wins the AFC South. And for those of you who don't know, that's the Jaguars, the Colts, the Texans, and the Titans. Starting in the fourth spot, the Texans. Currently, Deshaun Watson is not slated to be playing this year, especially not a quarterback for the Texans. So in comes Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is not the worst quarterback I've ever seen, but he's definitely not somebody that inspires me to give them a bunch of wins. So I definitely think that they're going to be in a rebuild. Their running back core looks like a land of misfits. Their wide receivers is Brandon Cooks and a bunch of nobodies. I really don't see them going very far. They're most likely going to be shooting for a high draft pick about halfway through the year. Up next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. We had the number one overall pick in this year's draft. Trevor Lawrence is going to come on nicely. I think that he's going to have a fine season for a rookie, but he's still a rookie. They also lost Travis Etienne earlier in this year, unfortunately. James Robinson is a solid running back, and I do think that he's going to play well, but this team doesn't inspire me to give them a bunch of wins, and I really don't see them doing much, but at least they didn't come in last in their division, right? Moving on to my next team, the Indianapolis Colts. They have Carson Wentz coming back from an injury, as well as Quentin Nelson. I actually think that they're going to have a fine year, and I have them sneaking into the playoffs. Yes, they didn't win their division, but there are wild cards, and I have them as a wild card choice. That defense is definitely going to do some work, and Jonathan Taylor is no slouch. I see him having a solid year. Behind that great offensive line, as long as Carson Wentz doesn't throw too many picks, I definitely think they make the playoffs as a wild card. And last but not least, we have the Tennessee Titans. Let's go. Getting Julio Jones, I definitely think is going to put them over the top to win this division. Let's see how far I have them going in the upcoming episodes. And on that note, Geoffrey, On to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, we're going to talk about who's going to win the AFC North. And for those of you who don't know, that is the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers. Starting at the 4th spot, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow had a horrific injury last year, so I'm actually personally just happy that he's playing football. Ja'Marr Chase has been having some issues with drops, but I'm actually not concerned with that per se for them winning the division. This is just a really tough division. Their defense isn't good, their offensive line isn't good, and I really think that that's a combination to not win a very tough division, so I got them at 4th. Next, we have the Cleveland Browns. Yes, they're in the 3rd spot, but I actually have them making the playoffs. Like I said, this is a really tough division, but these teams will definitely get enough wins to make it to the playoffs and see if they can make a little something happen. The Browns seem like they've taken a step forward. Baker Mayfield's looking good. They're getting Odell Beckham Jr. back, and that defense is serious. And don't forget about those running backs. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are absolute beasts behind a very good offensive line, one of the best in the league, if not the best. Next, moving on to the Steelers. I have the Steelers in the 2nd spot. Their defense is elite, but their offensive line is suspect. This may be one of the last times that Big Ben Roethlisberger has a chance to make it to the playoffs and go on a playoff run. So, I'm very curious to see how this happens, but I also have them in the playoffs as well. Najee Harris is going to be a solid add to that team. I definitely think they're going to utilize him in the run game and the passing game. Their real downfall is that offensive line. That is going to be a problem. But I still have them making the playoffs. And last but not least, we have the Baltimore Ravens winning the division. I like the Baltimore Ravens. I think that Lamar Jackson has taken a step forward. His receiving core is not the best. Marquise Brown is fine. He's finally getting back healthy, but Rashad Bateman, their 1st round draft pick, is not going to be starting the year, which is not good. Also, J.K. Dobbins went down, so now Gus Edwards is a starting running back. I think that this team's going to win with defense, controlling the ball, and running the ball. I think that this division is going to be a really close matchup between the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns. I think all 3 are going to get double-digit wins, but I have the Ravens winning a tiebreaker on that one. So I have the Ravens winning this division. And on that note, on to the next one, Geoffrey.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, we're going over who's going to win the NFC North. And for those of you who don't remember who's in that division, that's the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings. Starting in the 4th spot, the Detroit Lions are in a clear rebuild. Trading away Matthew Stafford and getting in Jared Goff is definitely a downgrade. DeAndre Swift's coming off of an injury. Their defense really isn't that great. And their starting wide receiver is Tyrell Williams, which is a meh wide receiver at best. All in all, this team is clearly in a rebuild. I actually think that they have a chance to rebuild this team pretty well. They've gotten a lot of draft picks back, and hopefully they don't squander their draft picks on terrible picks like they have in the past. Next, we have the Chicago Bears. Da Bears, da Bears, da Bears, da Bears, da Bears. Yes, they drafted Justin Fields in the 1st round, but he's not going to be starting this year. They have Andy Dalton to start this year. And to be honest with you, I personally would be starting Andy Dalton too. I would hate to have Justin Fields go against the Rams. It's his 1st NFL start. Yikes. So I completely understand starting Andy Dalton to start the year, but I think by the end of the year, Justin Fields will definitely be the starter for the Chicago Bears. Allen Robinson's a great wide receiver, and I'm excited to see what him and Fields look like together. I'm actually even excited to see what Andy Dalton and Allen Robinson look like together. This is going to probably sound crazy to y'all, but Andy Dalton might be the best quarterback that Allen Robinson's ever had. Shout out to Blake Bortles. Love you, Blake Bortles, but not the most accurate quarterback in the world. Except for my UCF Knights, baby. Let's go! Sorry, I had to drop that in there. Blake Bortles will always have a special place in my heart. Go Knights! Charge on! But this is the NFL. Whole nother level. Moving on to the next team, the Minnesota Vikings. I like the Vikings. I think that they're going to have a solid year, but I have them just missing the playoffs. I think their defense is going to be much better than it was last year. Their running game is incredible, and I like the receivers. So why are they not making the playoffs? Well, to be honest with you, there's just other teams that are better. There are other teams that are stronger defensively or stronger offensively. That being said, I like the Vikings, and I actually think that they're going to be good this year, and they definitely have a shot to make the playoffs. It's not that I don't like them, I just like some other teams better. And that leaves the Green Bay Packers winning this division. Aaron Rodgers, that bad man, is going to win the division in his last time in Green Bay. Yes, I said it. He is not coming back to Green Bay. They're an incredible offense, solid defense, and when you have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams on your team, you have a shot in any game, and I definitely think they're going to win this division fairly handily. All right, and on that note, on to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, I'm going over who's going to win the NFC South. And for those of you who don't know, that's the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints. In the fourth spot, I have the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, I do think that they're actually going to be better than they were last year. The problem is, I just don't feel like they're going to win enough games to make a difference. Their defense isn't great. I like Mike Davis, but he's really not a difference maker. And Calvin Ridley, as you know, is my league winner for the year. But I don't think he's enough to carry them to a division win. That's unfortunate. I have a feeling that this team is going to be in a rebuild in the next few years. I hope they don't waste away Calvin Ridley's prime. He is absolutely incredible. I'm looking forward to him this year. Moving on to the Carolina Panthers. They have added Sam Darnold and gotten rid of Teddy Bridgewater. I'm very interested to see how Sam Darnold is going to do without Adam Gase. Adam Gase was a terrible head coach. So now that he actually has a competent head coach, I wonder if he's going to stop seeing ghosts. In a serious note, this is definitely the best receiving core that I think that he's had. DJ Moore is talented. I'm very curious to see if he can get him the ball. And he's reunited with his buddy, Robbie Anderson. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually really excited to see the first game between the Jets and the Panthers. Now that's a reunion I'll be looking out for. Moving on. In the second spot, we have the New Orleans Saints. The legend, Drew Brees, has retired, and the Buccaneers' previous quarterback, Jameis Winston, is now the starter for the New Orleans Saints, for now. He just recently won the job, and he's probably like 7 picks away from Taysom Hill taking over the spot, but for now, we're going to assume that Jameis Winston is going to be the starter. With Michael Thomas out the first 6 games, I really think that they're going to struggle. So they have a great defense going for them, and an incredible running game. Alvin Kamara is an absolute beast. This man is extremely hard to tackle, and I definitely think he's going to keep them in games. Between the defense and the running games, I definitely think that they're still going to be viable, but they're not going to have enough wins to win the division or make the playoffs, unfortunately. And that leaves the winners of this division to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I definitely think the Buccaneers take this division fairly handily. I don't think that there's going to be much competition to win this division. I actually think that they're going to be fighting for the #1 spots in the NFC. Giving you a little sneak peek for the episodes to come. All right, Geoffrey, on to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, we're going to be going over the NFC East. And for those of you who don't know, that's the Washington football team, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, and the Dallas Cowboys. Starting with the 4th spot, I have the New York Giants. Unfortunately, I definitely think they're going to get off to a really slow start and not be able to recover. Saquon Barkley's going to start off on a pitch count. He's not going to get the full workload. They're going to be mixing in him and Devonta Booker. Who knows how long until he's back to 100%. Kenny Golladay is already dinged up. I think that he's going to be healthy coming into the season, but hamstrings tend to be a lingering issue. So I'm very curious to see if he can stay healthy, and I'm really not a believer in Daniel Jones. I think their defense has gotten a lot better, but their offense isn't going to be enough to be relevant, unfortunately. Up next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is the new starting quarterback, and I actually think that he's going to do a fine job. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be enough to be relevant in this division. I'm very curious to see how Jalen Hurts is going to play this year. I like that they got him Devonta Smith. The problem is that's really all they have right now. I definitely think Jalen Reagor as a year 2 wide receiver has a chance, but to be honest with you, I think that a lot of the passes are going to be going to the tight end and Devonta Smith, and I just don't think that they're going to be able to win enough games to make the playoffs, unfortunately. Moving on to second place, the Washington football team. I actually think they're going to make the playoffs again, back-to-back years. Good for you, Washington. Good for you. That defense is absolutely incredible, and they've made an upgrade at quarterback. Yes, I said it, an upgrade. Some of you know him as Ryan Fitzpatrick. I like to call him Ryan Fitzmagic. I've got the magic in me. Love Ryan Fitzmagic. I don't think that he's going to be a top tier fantasy option, but I do think that he's going to be a serviceable quarterback that is willing to push it downfield. And that's exactly what Terry McLaurin needs. I also like that they added Curtis Samuel. I think that that's going to be a solid add to this offense. And their running game is going to come along with Antonio Gibson. And at the very top, the division winners, we have the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Man, I am not going to be able to deal with these Cowboy fans after they win the division. They already talk about how they're going to win the division every single year, and it seems not to be happening. But I have them winning the division this year. I love CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper's being underrated. Ezekiel Elliott's being underrated, excluding their guard who just went down due to COVID. But he'll be back, and I think this offensive line is going to be a lot better. Their defense still isn't great, but I think that the key for Dallas is they're going to win their games by just scoring a lot of points. I don't think that they'll be able to stop people defensively as well, but I think offensively, they're going to be a juggernaut, so I have them winning this division. And on that note, on to the next division, Geoffrey.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, I'm going to go over who's going to win the NFC West. And for those of you who don't know, that is the Cardinals, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. Though I think that they have a solid year, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Unfortunately, they're just in a very, very tough division. This is one of the best divisions in the league. So unfortunately, they're not going to make the playoffs. I love Kyler Murray, love DeAndre Hopkins. Their running backs are fine if they can stay healthy. That's important for James Conner. But I just don't think that they're going to have enough to put them over the top and win enough games to make the playoffs. They don't have a terrible record, just not enough to make the playoffs or move up in their division. I mean, they have an incredible division. Seahawks, 49ers, Rams. It's just really unfortunate for the Cardinals. Next, we have the 49ers. Calm down, 49ers fans. Though the 49ers are in third place in their division, I do have them making the playoffs. The 49ers are an incredible team. I actually have you getting double-digit wins. The problem is, I have the Seahawks and the Rams doing a little bit better. This defense is absolutely incredible. And I actually really like the offense if they can stay healthy. I feel like something has to be in the water for San Francisco. Their running backs go down. Their tight ends go down. Their wide receivers go down. It is wild, the injuries they have to deal with. So if they can stay healthy, I actually think they have a solid year. The reason I have them at third is I do think it's going to be an interesting transition going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance. And yes, they will be going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance. That being said, I don't know when that's going to happen. I do think there's a chance that there is a shift in the running back room as well with Raheem Mostert and Trey Sermon. I think that Raheem Mostert has a chance to keep in this job, but he tends to get injured, which is unfortunate. Love George Kittle, and I love the receivers when they're healthy, but not as much as I love this next team. And in the second spot, we have the Seattle Seahawks. And I definitely have the Seattle Seahawks making the playoffs. I like the Seahawks. I think Russell Wilson is a great quarterback. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are an incredible receiving core. And Chris Carson is underrated as usual. That defense is kind of suspect, but I do feel like Russell Wilson will win them enough games to keep them relevant. If their defense was better, I actually think they would have a better chance, obviously, to win the division. I barely have them over the 49ers, to be honest with you. The 49ers defense is incredible. If they didn't have so many moving pieces, I think I would have had the 49ers be in second. But with the inconsistencies and the changing of the positions, I really just think that they're a little more disarray than the Seahawks. Moving on to the number one spot, the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford, I think, is going to push this team to the next level. He is a very good quarterback, extremely underrated. I love their receiving core. Their running back core definitely took a hit losing Cam Akers, but Darrell Henderson is a fine replacement, and they brought in Sony Michel. And this defense is absolutely elite. And they have two of the best defensive players in Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald is arguably the best player in football. He is unbelievably good. So I definitely think that this defense is going to help lead them to the division title. And on that note, that's going to do it for this division. Up next, I talk about where all these players land in the order and how the playoffs go. So stay tuned. I'll see you soon. Geoffrey?
Yes, sir.
Let's get to the playoffs.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, we go over the AFC standings and how the wild card round shakes out. Starting at the bottom, in 7th place, we have the Indianapolis Colts. Up next, we have the Cleveland Browns. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers, followed by the Baltimore Ravens. The Tennessee Titans get the 3rd spot, followed by the Buffalo Bills. And the number 1 spot in the AFC Conference goes to the Kansas City Chiefs! That's what I'm talking about. No surprise here, the Chiefs are at the top of the conference. They're absolutely incredible. One of the best teams in the league, and they are coming back with a vengeance after getting embarrassed in the Super Bowl. If you forgot, they scored no touchdowns. Just a reminder. I don't know if you remember or not. Not a homer, just saying 0 touchdowns. They are upset, and they have a point to prove. So only one team gets a bye week now in the new format, and the Chiefs are that team. So they don't have to play anybody in the wildcard round. So the matchups for the AFC wildcard round are the Steelers versus the Ravens at home, the Browns versus the Titans at home, and the Colts versus the Bills at home. I have the Ravens beating the Steelers, the Titans beating the Browns, and the Bills beating the Colts. I have all the home teams winning in this one. Alright, I think that's going to do it for this one. Check out my next episode going over the NFC Conference. Alright, Geoffrey, on to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, I'm going to be going over the NFC standings for the playoffs and the wild card round. Alright, let's start with the standings for the playoffs. Starting at the bottom, we have Washington football team in 7th, the San Francisco 49ers at 6th, the Seattle Seahawks at 5th, the Dallas Cowboys at 4th, the Los Angeles Rams in 3rd, the Green Bay Packers at 2nd, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1st place. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers brought back all of their starters. Last year they made it to the Super Bowl and won it, dealing with injuries all year, players that hadn't played with each other before. After a solid offseason together, I definitely think that the Buccaneers are in the perfect position to take the number 1 spot in the conference. How about those Bucs? In the new format, only the number 1 seed gets a bye, so the Bucs don't play in the wild card round. In the wild card round, I have the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Dallas to play the Cowboys. The 49ers are going to be playing at the Rams. And the Washington football team is playing the Packers. I think the Seahawks beat the Cowboys in Dallas. I have the Rams winning at home against the 49ers. And the Packers winning at home against the Washington football team. Alright, check out my next episode for the divisional round of the playoffs. I'll see you soon. Geoffrey?
Yes, sir.
On to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, we're going to be going over my predictions for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Starting with the AFC. I have the Tennessee Titans going to Buffalo to play the Bills. And then I have the Baltimore Ravens heading to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. I have the Titans traveling to Buffalo and beating the Bills at their home stadium. Yes, I know, that is a little bit of a stretch, but I definitely think that if the Titans stay healthy, they will have one of the most elite offenses in the league. Yes, their defense is a liability, but I believe they should be able to outscore people and run out the clock with Derrick Henry. Up next, the Ravens at the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson making it this far going against the Chiefs, I think this is going to be a big matchup for him. Unfortunately, I think that the matchup's going to go like the other times that he's played Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs are going to win. I just don't see them getting knocked off by the Baltimore Ravens, unfortunately. To beat the Chiefs, you have to have a potent offense to keep up with theirs. I think that the Chiefs' offensive line is much improved, and they should be able to protect Patrick Mahomes. And if that's the case, Andy Reid is going to dial up a bunch of cool offenses, and I don't think that the Ravens are going to be able to handle it. So I have the Chiefs winning this one. Moving on to the NFC, I have the Rams playing in Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. Then I have the Seattle Seahawks heading to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. I think that the Green Bay Packers handle business at home and beat the Rams. I definitely think that this defense is going to give the Packers some trouble, but I don't see them outscoring Aaron Rodgers because he's a bad man. Next we have the Buccaneers and the Seattle Seahawks. I think that the Bucs defense is going to be too much for the Seattle Seahawks. I think that the Bucs are going to be able to score a decent amount of points, and I feel like Seattle is going to have a tough time keeping up going against that Bucs defense at home, no less. Whew. Should be a rough one. I think this will be a close game, but I have the Bucs pulling away at the end. All right, that's going to do it for the divisional round. Come back and see what I think happens in the conference finals. And on that note, Geoffrey, on to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, we're going over the NFL Conference Championships. In the AFC, I have the Tennessee Titans traveling to Kansas City to play the Chiefs at home. And I think the Chiefs win this game. I don't think that the Titans are going to be able to stop the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are absolutely incredible with Andy Reid's play calling and Patrick Mahomes down at center. I don't think that the Titans will have enough to win this game. So, the Chiefs are heading back to the Super Bowl. All right, next up, we have the NFC Championship. The Green Bay Packers head to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers in the championship game. I think this is a great game. I think that it's going to be close towards the beginning, but that defense is going to make some crucial stops, and the Bucs are going to pull away at the end. Considering this is Aaron Rodgers' last year in Green Bay, I definitely think that he pulls out all the punches. I think he gives us everything he's got. And Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. So, I definitely think that he's going to have a solid game. Our defense is incredible, but Aaron Rodgers is also an offensive weapon, and Davante Adams is a beast. But that does not change the fact that Tom will not let this opportunity slip away. Our defense is going to play great and keep it within distance, and the Bucs are going to win the game at the end because Tom Brady is the GOAT. Bah. So that's going to send the Buccaneers back to the Super Bowl. Back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. Let's go! The GOAT's going to be in another Super Bowl. Man, that's absolutely insane. We have the Chiefs versus the Bucs in a Super Bowl rematch. I cannot wait to see this. I am extremely excited. So that's going to do it for this episode. Check out my next episode where I go over who wins the Super Bowl. All right, Geoffrey, on to the next one.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this episode, I go over my Super Bowl prediction, starting with who I have there. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A rematch from last year. The Chiefs wanting revenge for how the year went last year. And the Buccaneers looking to reclaim their title back-to-back years. I'm talking back-to-back. I'm talking back-to-back. The last time these two played in the Super Bowl, it was an incredible matchup, and I thought it was going to be a barn burner, but it was anything but that. The defense of the Buccaneers proved to be too much for the Kansas City Chiefs. Their offensive line was hobbled, and they looked it. Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. I don't think it's like that in this game. I think that the offensive line is solid, and they're playing at full strength. Good. That's exactly how I want both teams at full strength playing in this game. I think that Kansas City is going to play a fine game. The Bucs defense is going to keep them in check, but there's only so much you can keep in check with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is an absolute beast. Tyreek Hill is absolutely incredible, and that offensive line shouldn't be as terrible as it was last time. I have this being a close back and forth game, but the GOAT comes through at the end and wins it for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucs win back-to-back Super Bowl. That's my pick. Last year when I said the Bucs were going to win the Super Bowl, I had a lot of people laughing at me. You're just a homer. You're crazy. Tom Brady switching teams. It was Belichick that did it. It wasn't him. It's all about the system. And as the year went on, more and more people piling on, laughing. Oh, Mike, you don't know what you're talking about. Look at them. Look how bad they are. Look how they got crushed by the Saints. That's embarrassing. Oh, my gosh. How are you sticking by that pick? Because you don't bet against Tom Brady. And I didn't bet against him here. All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for joining. I hope that you come back and join me for my weekly fantasy football predictions, as well as picking every game against the spread, survivor pool. I do it all. Come back and enjoy the ride. It's going to be a great season. I'm Mike Williams, Fantasy Bay, and I'll see you next time. Peace.